Super Mario Bros. Released back in 1985 on the NES, September 13th. This game's a classic. It's one of the most, if not the most, important video game of all time. It's an all-time classic. I'm sure a lot of people have played it, and I'm sure some maybe haven't. It's an amazing game. Does it still hold up? Let's get into it. This game's story is that King Koopa, later renamed Bowser, kidnaps Princess Peach and turns the Toads into brick blocks, stones, and horsehair plants. With his spell, the only person who can reverse it is Princess Peach, and she's been kidnapped. So it's up to Mario and Luigi to traverse through each castle throughout 8 worlds and stop Bowser once and for all. This game has 8 worlds and 4 levels in each world. So the first 3 levels will be normal platforming, jumping on enemies, collecting power-ups. And the 4th level of each world will be a castle. There will be a fake Bowser, which is just one of his minions disguised as him. You can either kill it with fireballs, and that will reveal who was really underneath the costume, or you could just hit the axe on the bridge and drop them in lava. Either way, the first 7 castles, you just rescue Toads, and then the final castle is the real Bowser, and that's where you rescue Princess Peach. This game has a variety of enemies. You got Goombas, Koopas, you got the red and the green shells. The green shell ones walk off cliffs, whereas the red shell Koopas will walk back and forth, so they won't walk off a cliff. You have bullet bills. You also have Buzzy Beetles, which I don't remember if they only appear in New Game Plus. And then you have Piranha Plants as well. This is where all these enemies debuted, and they're still in the Mario series to this day. You also have a couple power-ups. The Super Mushroom, which turns Mario or Luigi into Super Mario, Super Luigi. This allows you to break brick blocks, take an extra hit without dying. You also have the Fire Flower, which lets you shoot fireballs from your fingers or your hands and kill enemies. You can shoot 2 at a time, so you can't like abuse it, but it's a classic power-up that we still have in new Mario games to this day. You also have the 1-up, gives you an extra life. They're hidden throughout the game. Sometimes you might just hit an invisible block and it'll pop out, or maybe you'll collect 100 coins and get an extra life. You also have the Star power-up, which is this game's invincibility power. So, for a short duration of time, you can run through a bunch of enemies, kill them, collect points for your score, and you're invincible. It will run out after a little bit, but it's a classic power-up. Throughout each level, you'll be jumping on enemies, collecting coins, collecting power-ups. And at the end of each level, there'll be a goalpost. You jump on it. Depending on what part you land on, that's how much points you'll get. So you always want to try to aim for like the top, if like a high score is like something you care about. But the levels on here are very fun, very speed runnable. You can breeze through them if you know what you're doing. Later levels, as you progress in any video game, will get a little bit more challenging. But this game overall isn't that hard. I will say, when you get to World 8, there will be a lack of power-ups. There won't be that many, if any at all. Maybe 8-3, there'll be a mushroom. But Overall, the game's difficulty is pretty normal. It's not really bad. Besides, like, the last area, it can be very tricky. There's lots of secrets in each world, each level. You have hidden blocks that could have a 1-up. Some even have a vine that will transfer you into like a coin heaven-esque place, and you collect a bunch of coins. There's even warp pipes that you can enter to skip worlds entirely. I don't use them because I like to play each level, but say like you don't feel like replaying a world, you can just skip it. Multiple warp zones, but lots of fun, lots of cool secrets and invisible blocks and stuff to find. The music in this game is so iconic, and that's where we got the classic Mario Bros. Theme that you hear even in today's Mario games, different renditions of it. There's not a lot of different tracks on this game, but the tracks that are in here are classic, and I like them a lot. The castles of each world are fun. Nothing too hard. There are fire bars and lava bubbles occasionally. And you'll run into like a puzzle on some castles where you have to like pick the right path. And if you don't, then you'll have to be teleported back to the start of the puzzle in each castle, but it's not hard to figure out. So the castles are pretty fun. That's where you get to fight Bowser's or his minions dressed up as him. Lots of fun. If you do happen to get a game over on this game, once you get back to the title screen, if you're hovering over player 1 or player 2, 2-player, just hold A and then click start. That will start you back at the start of the world you left off on, instead of starting the whole game over. So that could be very helpful, save you a lot of time. If you play your cards right and collect coins as you go, and take your time sometimes to get coins or hidden 1-ups, you can beat the game without a continue, without game over. You just gotta be particular about stuff. The whole game is classic, it's fun, it still holds up to this day. I will say the mechanics, such as like his movement, it might feel stiff, and compared to new 2D Mario games, like I feel like once they hit Mario 3, they like nailed his like movement perfectly, and then in Mario World and so forth, it's been like the same. Mario Bros. 2 felt a little slippery on the NES, like it felt good, but it felt like a little slippery. On here, it feels good as well, but it might feel a little stiff, and you'll get used to it, especially if you're like used to playing the newer Mario 2D ones. It might feel weird, but you'll get used to it. Once you beat the game, you will enter a new quest if you press B. Basically, it's like New Game Plus. It's the same game, but enemies move faster, and not like super fast, just a little bit quicker. Like the Koopas walk a little faster. And all the Goombas are replaced with Buzzy Beetles, and they walk fast too. But other than that, it's like the same game. I have beaten it multiple times, New Game Plus. It's nothing amazing. It's fun, cool little extra. But even if you beat New Game Plus and you start another quest, it's just the same thing, just repeats. So it's still cool that they included it. There's nothing to really complain about in this game, besides, you know, the bloopers. They may feel a little annoying to deal with in the water, which isn't really a problem. But the Hammer Brothers, I feel like the Hammer Brothers are just broken on here. In future 2D Marios, they throw like 2 hammers. On here, they throw like a handful, and they're not like that hard to deal with. Stay close to them. Keep your distance a little. And then run underneath them. But it can still be tricky and hard not to get hit. Especially in 8-3, there's like 4 Hammer Brothers in a row. You can jump over a couple, and there is a mushroom in that level, but it is a pain in the butt. Like, I hate the Hammer Brothers. They get on my nerves on here. They're not that bad, but I feel like they're a little broken. Other than that, this game's amazing. It still holds up to this day. It's a classic. I played this on an actual NES. You can play it on the Switch Online if you have the membership. Just the standard one. So yeah, go play it, have fun. I'll see you next time.